Jesus on the ballot, billionaires buying the ballots, a subject I know absolutely nothing about, but I had to talk about on television. And the World Series was this week, so we have two most valuable players from World Series past. I'm Richard Bey, and this is Richard Bey Talk. Thank you so much for joining me with Albert Reinoso, my producer. How are you doing, Albert?
I'm doing fine, Richard. How are you?
All right, that's good. Healthy, everything's good.
I think so.
You seem to be in a good mood today.
Oh, that's what is that insinuating?
No, it's insinuating that you're not watching cable news where
no, I don't watch cable.
Everybody's in a black shroud mourning this election and everything is so negative. You know, I'm not going to do this again. After Trump was elected, I mean, people would always ask me, is it even possible that Trump could be elected? I said, it's possible, but it's not probable. And so, I feel the same way about tomorrow. It's the election day when we get the results. It's possible the Democrats will retain control of the Senate. It's possible, but it's not probable. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, everybody seems to be distressed by this. Bill Barr had he almost sang a dirge on his show about the end of America. But I'm going to tell you some positive things as we go on here. But the night Trump was elected, I mean, like so many other Democrats, I couldn't believe that it happened. And for the next 2 weeks, I'd find my solace with Mr. Jack and his buddy Jim, last names Beam and Daniels. And I got drunk every night for about 2 weeks. Then I went to the hospital where they give you free examinations. There's a place down here where they do this once a month. And the guy took my blood pressure and he said, "Oh my God, you're 174. I said, "Oh, that can't be true. I've never been over 135. I said, "Take it again." He said, "All right, you're 173. And he said, "Have you been under any stress lately?" And I said, "Are you kidding?" Anyway, I am on blood pressure medication. After I became acclimated to the politics of the moment, my blood pressure did come down, and now it's in like 130 or somewhere in that range. So don't worry about me, and I'm not going to let that happen again. Let's see. I guess the big news today is the rift between Donald Trump and DeSantis, because all week long there have been the rumors that Trump is going to announce that he's running for president. And of course, Trump is better than any bully in the schoolyard at coming up with nasty names. Hey, fatty. Hey, pizza face. Hey, skinny. He's come up with a name for DeSantis. You might have seen it already, but here, take a look at it again.
The best poll numbers, where are they? Are they putting them up on the screen? I think so. Put them up. Look. Yeah, we're putting them up. We're winning big, big, big in the Republican Party for the nomination like nobody's ever seen before. Let's see. There it is. Trump at 71. Ron DeSanctimonious at 10%. Mike Pence at 7%. Oh, Mike's doing better than I thought. Liz Cheney, there's no way she's at 4%. There's no way.
Ron DeSanctimonious. This week, Oprah endorsed John Fetterman, even though she had discovered Dr. Oz and made him a big star on her TV show. She said, if I was living in Pennsylvania, I would be voting for Fetterman. But Ron DeSanctimonious really outdid that endorsement. How could you get a better endorsement than this one from God?
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, "I need a protector." So God made a fighter. God said, "I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, kiss his family goodbye, travel thousands of miles for no other reason than to serve the people." to save their jobs, their livelihoods, their liberty, their happiness. So God made a fighter. God said, I need someone to be strong, advocate truth in the midst of hysteria, someone who challenges conventional wisdom and isn't afraid to defend what he knows to be right and just. So God made a fighter.
That's not a joke, and there's more of it. It goes on and on. And in the last days of the campaign for governor of Florida, that's one of the last campaigns. Can you believe this?
Who did that? Where did that come from?
It was released by his campaign. His wife
Really?
helped to put it together. Yeah. He thinks he's Joan of Arc.
Oh, that's funny.
He thinks he's Joan of Arc. I wonder if he hears voices or the bells. Ron will save you. Ron. Remember Joan of Arc heard the bells and they were. I
So
wonder
his campaign had something to do with that.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
All right. I have to go back into my hole and laugh a little.
Well, but listen, Charlie Crist. I'm sorry. He should have put an H in his name and said, "Vote for Christ. I'm Christ. Vote for me. I help one better than Ron DeSantis."
You know what? With the internet, he can throw that up by tonight, and people could be influenced by tomorrow for the vote.
Yeah, forget about being endorsed by God. You could vote for Christ himself. All right. This is crazy. Now, of course, if you believe that sort of thing, if you are inhabited by that kind of delusion, then, well, you can do anything. The Constitution doesn't matter, as Ron DeSantis ignored it when he took redistricting from the legislature and defied the Constitution that says you can't have partisan redistricting. He even called in national Republicans to help him create a redistricting in Florida state that gives Republicans 71% of the representatives. If you really believe that, you can disobey the law that your own legislature passed that said you can remove immigrants who are in Florida. Here's $12 million to do it. And instead remove them from San Antonio, Texas. If you actually believe that, you can fire an elected attorney general in Florida who did nothing. He did nothing. He said something, but he did nothing. And you can fire him because you don't like what he says. If God has anointed you, you can even punish Disneyland. I mean, Trump is narcissistic and thinks he doesn't have to obey the laws or the Constitution, but that springs from his own narcissism. With DeSantis, Ron will save you. I mean, this is just crazy stuff. All right, but it's not only there. In Georgia, Herschel Walker said that his opponent was Satan. Take a look at this headline. Likens Warnock to Satan. And he's also said that he's a warrior for God. Not the Reverend from the Baptist Church who's been there for, I don't know, over a decade. No, but Herschel Walker, who just won the Father of the Year award for having 3 kids that he didn't even know about and paid for 2 abortions with other women. No. The Reverend is Satan. I mean, you can say anything, but why stop there? I told you that Charlie Crist should put an H in his name and be Christ, but hey, there are people who think that that Trump is actually the incarnation of Christ. Look at this book. President Donald Trump, the Son of Man, the Christ. It's on Amazon. Go look. It's not a joke. It's not a parody. He said Jesus was the Son of God, but Jesus is now the Son of Man, Donald Trump. And if you think this is only one nutcase, you can go to the internet and see scores, and I mean scores of pictures of Jesus and Trump hugging Jesus, guiding his hand when he separates families at the border and is signing executive orders. This is the craziest midterm election I've ever seen. At least the Tea Party, they had a policy. It was right there in their name, taxed enough already. They were upset about taxes. What's the I keep hearing on TV over and over again, the number one issue is the economy and inflation. Well, yeah, I get it. Who likes inflation? It's tough. But what's your political policy to deal with it? Right now and in the future, there's only one way, really. And it's not tax cuts for the wealthy. It's what the Fed is doing. And the Fed chairman that we have was appointed by Donald Trump. He's following the historical policy that brought us out of our last long-lasting inflationary period, and that was in the late 70s and into the 80s. You do realize, all right, so Biden he's not even have 2 years in his term yet, you know. When Reagan was elected, in his first year, inflation was 14%, I believe. And in the second year, it was almost 7%. So yeah, it did come down by half, but it wasn't because of anything Reagan did. It was because of his Fed chairman, who raised interest rates. And I still don't understand why, if you give people money, that's inflationary. I mean, inflation. What I'd like to do is, you see all these debates, which are ridiculous. A half hour and no follow-up questions. Candidates don't get to speak directly to each other. You just have to say, no, I don't, or yes, I did, or whatever. Why don't they have them play Jeopardy? I'd really like them to understand, have questions like maybe a category, inflation. What is it? Inflation. What's the solution? And I know that's not how Jeopardy is played, but wait a second. You'd have to give the answer and you'd have to give the question. But still, you'd find out do you think Herschel Walker knows what causes inflation? Inflation is when too much money chases a scarcity of goods. So that drives the marketplace up in a free market, at least. All right. So if you give people a tax cut, that means they have more money in their pockets, more money to spend chasing the same scarcity of goods. It's the same thing as giving people $1,400, which is what on television they blame Joe Biden for. That extra, what was it, COVID relief package. But it was Trump who said, I want them to get the extra $1,400. I want them to have $2,000. That was Trump's policy, even as late as after he lost the election. He was saying it in late December. All right. So what are you going to do about inflation? I mean, I never hear anybody on TV ask the question to Republicans. What you can do to some degree is what Biden did, help people out in terms of, in some areas, bringing down the price of oil, by releasing reserves or giving at least people over 65 benefit to keep their insulin costs down. They wanted to do it for everybody. Insulin's been around forever. I mean, there's no reason that it should cost more than $35 a month. All right. But, Jerome Powell, who's raising interest rates, why do you think he's doing that? Because he wants people to spend less. If you give them a tax cut, then they will spend more. It's the same frickin' thing. All right. So everybody's depressed about the polls and the Michigas on cable news over and over again. Can't take it after a while. I think tomorrow night, I'm not even going to watch it. I'll watch a movie. And when it's all over, I'll find out what the results are.
Come with me to the light side. That's what it is.
That's what he
You'll
does.
be a lot happier.
He doesn't care about politics at all.
Not anymore, no.
All right. But one thing I will give you, which is a ray of hope. And that is in 2010 with the Tea Party, the Republicans picked up 63 seats in the House. 63. I don't think anybody's predicting that they'll pick up 63 seats tomorrow. It was Obama famously said, we got a shellacking. It was a red wave. And what happened? In 2012, Obama was reelected. And he's out on the campaign trail now. And Albert and I, we were talking off camera about who is a genius and who isn't. And Albert, you said that you thought Obama was a genius, right?
I did, yeah.
Right. He combined so many terrific talents. He's intelligent. He's a great orator. He's compassionate.
Exactly.
He's relatable. And here he is on the campaign trail. And if you want hope, listen to him. I put this together from several different speeches he gave because he's doing his best and he's gone all across the country. Take a listen.
It should come no surprise that Republicans want to cut taxes for the wealthy and big corporations because that's their solution to everything. When inflation's low, they say, let's cut taxes for the wealthy. If unemployment's high, let's cut taxes. When it's the reverse, they want to cut taxes on the wealthy. If there was an asteroid that headed towards Earth, they'd all get in a room and say, you know what we need? Tax cuts for the rich. I mean, it's nice if you got one answer to every economic problem.
Some of you here are on Social Security. Some of your parents are on Social Security. Some of your grandparents are on Social Security. You know why they have Social Security? Because they worked for it. They worked hard jobs for it. They have chapped hands for it. They had long hours and sore backs and bad knees to get that Social Security. And if Ron Johnson does not understand that, if he understands giving tax breaks for private planes more than he understands making sure that seniors who've worked all their lives are able to retire with dignity and respect, he's not the person who's thinking about you and knows you and sees you, and he should not be your senator from Wisconsin.
The kind of slash and burn politics that we're seeing right now, that doesn't have to be who we are. We can be better. And it has nothing to do, by the way, with political correctness or being too woke. It's about fundamental values that my grandparents from Kansas taught me. Values I grew up with, values you grew up with, values we try to teach our kids, values we learn in churches and mosques and synagogues and temples, honesty, fairness, opportunity, hard work, values that Josh Shapiro and John Fetterman stand for, values that Joe Biden stands for, values that were enshrined in our founding documents a few miles from here, a clarion call for freedom and equality that Philly's own Liberty Bell represents. That's what America stands for. That's who we are.
All right. Of course, Obama is not on the ballot, regrettably, but boy, I miss him. You probably do too. But you got to remember that 2 years before the election of 2008, very few people even knew who Obama was. And it seemed like Hillary Clinton had a pathway straight to the nomination. Obama was relatively unknown, just a guy who made a speech at the Democratic convention. So 2 years from now, we may be watching for a while DeSanctimonious and Trumpsky, the two of them going at each other. Or Joe Biden may not run. We don't know what's going to happen. And remember, 2010, Democrats lost 63 seats in the House. And then just 2 years later, Barack Obama was reelected. Now, he talked there about tax cuts for the rich being the foundation for Republicans as a solution to almost every problem. So it's no secret why billionaires have been supporting Republican candidates. Peter Thiel, the tech billionaire, he basically created Blake Masters as a candidate in Arizona. Ron Lauder, the billionaire heir to a cosmetics fortune, he's the one that financed the lawsuit against New York State, which tried to do gerrymandering for Democrats. And he won. He financed it. And he's given over $11 million to Zeldin, who is running against the Democratic candidate for governor in New York. The billionaires. It's also the top 1% of donors by income have accounted for 38% of the total amount spent on election. There's a list on, if you go look at Forbes or one, they have a list of all the billionaires who have donated to Republicans. Of course, self-interest. Why shouldn't they if they think they're going to get another tax cut? And in many cases, the tax cut they already received under the Trump tax cut and the extra money they got when that tax cut took force, most of which went to the ultra wealthy, they've just funneled it back to keep this game going, which is, although he states otherwise, which is why this morning Elon Musk came out and says, I recommend voting for a Republican Congress. All right. So I told you I was going to speak about something that I know nothing about, and that's sports. I've been to 2 baseball games in my entire life. Albert said he couldn't believe that. One of them, I was in high school and a friend had tickets to an All-Stars game, and I went to see that. And the second one, I had a wealthy friend who had box seats at the new Yankee Stadium, right behind home plate, right where these beautiful hot pants waitresses come down and serve you alcohol and food. And I was chatting with the girls so much that people in the stands above me started chanting, Richard Bey, watch the game. Richard Bey, watch the game. I have absolutely no interest in team sports. I've never seen a football game from beginning to end. Albert,
that I can't believe.
It's absolutely true. I once saw half a game because I was vice president of my high school, Far Rockaway High School, and we were city champs. And I had to show up. So I saw half the game and then I left.
Must have been a torture for you.
Well, I don't even understand how basketball is played. I know you have to dribble and you can't carry the ball. I know nothing about sports. And then over the years, yeah, I know.
How could you not have seen a football game with all the Super Bowls? I mean,
I never saw a football game in my life, in my entire life.
Super Bowl party?
No, a Super Bowl party? No, I've never been to one. I've been to lots of parties.
Wow.
I've been to lots of parties,
okay.
But I never went to a Super Bowl party.
I'll invite you to my house for Super Bowl.
All right. We're not going to get under 30 minutes, which is our goal now because of our wrap here. But let me just say this. So CBS, when I worked at CBS, they sent me to Yankee training camp, everybody's dream. For me, I'm going, oh my God, I know nothing about baseball. I was set to interview George Steinbrenner and Bucky Dent, who had been the MVP in the World Series. And fortunately, there was a human story behind this. Bucky Dent had fallen into a slump. Well, I'll tell you a bit about that after this, but I'm faking it all the way through. I know nothing about baseball. Here's Bucky Dent.
Yankee owner George Steinbrenner knows it isn't Yogi who brings the women out to the ballpark.
I did hear it said that of all the fan mail, Bucky Dent is by far our number one man, and it's all from young ladies.
It's the only word that I want to be described as is consistent, because I think that says it all. If you can go out day in and day out and do your job and be consistent, then there's nothing more a ball club can ask.
Consistent is the last word you would use to describe Bucky Dent's life, at least since October 1978. Then Bucky was known as the least known Yankee starter. He was a strong fielder, a weak hitter.
It's over the wall. It's a home run for Bucky Dent.
But in this playoff game for the pennant against Boston, his game-winning home run put the Yanks into the World Series.
Just cleared the top of the wall in left.
It meant so much, not only personally, but it meant a lot to a lot of guys who had played hard over the course of the year. People might say, well, you were lucky. Well, maybe I was lucky, but I still had to swing the bat and I still had to hit the ball. So it was a very big thing that happened to me.
Path against the Dodgers in the World Series. He was named Most Valuable Player. Then he became one of the most valuable properties in celebrity merchandising. There was a movie with the Dallas Cheerleaders and fur commercials with his wife Stormy. In just 3 months, Bucky's newfound fame earned him an extra $100,000. Did you ever have a feeling at that time that this is my moment, I better take advantage of it, I better cash in on it while it's here?
I think everybody feels that at the time. But no, I didn't feel like that I had to make as much money at the time as possible. I felt like it was important for me to take advantage of certain things. You know, for an athlete, you've probably heard it before, you know, they have to make as much money as they possibly can because, and I found that out this year when I got hurt, was that, hey, you know, my career can end right now. It can be over with one slide, with one pitch.
The kid from Hialeah, Florida, who grew up hoping to play for the Yankees, had lived out the American dream, and more. But then came the morning after.
1979 was the worst year I've ever had as far as an athlete. I think that that was the point that was the lowest. I had a horrible year. I was having trouble with my contract, and I just didn't play like I was capable of playing.
Things happened so fast, so quickly for Bucky that he lost a little bit of his equilibrium on his sense of values. And that happens to all of us. I don't think anybody's safe from that. I think that he got carried away with certain things, and maybe even human nature is such that he got carried away a little with himself. I do from time to time. We all do. That's part of human nature.
Oh, my God. So Bucky Dent at the training camp had a hypnotist who was also a priest help him to build his self-confidence. This Bucky Dent had created a block in his mind about being successful. And of course he came back but look at my hair. Look at my hair in that video. You know, Bucky Dent and I are about the same age. We were about the same age then and now, and both of us. Well, he still got his hair. It's just, you know, a similar color to mine. So then in Philadelphia, the Phillies won the World Series, I believe, in '86. Well, I believe that because I had to interview Mike Schmidt, who was the MVP for that World Series. And that was a live sit-down interview. So I called up my friend Larry Seisler, who was a baseball fan. Could you tell me about Mike Schmidt? What makes him a good player? What happened in the series? Is there anything about him that in his baseball career that I should know about? And then I had to sit down and have an interview with Mike Schmidt. You may notice here there's a point in time when he mentions another player, Steve Carlton. And he starts laughing. I had no idea who Steve Carlton was, but I figured if he's laughing, I'll laugh too. Take a look at this.
The National League MVP. I must thank the fans and the media. You know, the most enjoyable thing about the 1986 baseball season this year was the warmth and encouragement and the respect that I felt coming out of the stands. I thank you all so much for that.
Well, if you haven't heard the news, you don't live in Philadelphia. Mike wins. Mike Schmidt, again, recognized as the most valuable player in the National League for the third time in Philadelphia. Congratulations. We're proud of you, too.
Thank you very much.
All of Philadelphia is proud of you.
Thank you.
You know, in the Daily News, it said that you knew last March you were going to be MVP. Then, that's what it says. Then on the news you said, I didn't think I was going to get it.
Well, I think maybe, I haven't read that. I'm looking forward to reading all the newspaper articles today. I think that came out of my discussions with John Felsky early in spring training when we were trying to make a decision who was going to hit fourth and who was going to hit fifth on our ball club. I had complained a little bit about the fast guys on the team running and stealing too much when I was hitting, and I guess John maybe thought Glenn Wilson would be a better cleanup hitter for the Phillies than myself, and I tried to put that subject to rest real fast when I said, John, I might be the best hitter in this league before it's over. I think you might want me hitting fourth.
You worked out a lot before the season and probably during the season with Pat Croce.
Right.
It seemed almost like a Rocky story. You're 37 years old. Did you worry at all that your body might not be up to snuff?
Oh, I always worry about that. You know, when this show comes on, I will have just come out of Pat Croce's gym, and I do that almost every day. When I get home, I can click you on, and there you are. And I kind of play the game in a nonchalant manner, and I think fans say, look, if you're going to be so nonchalant about things, you know, let's do good more often, and I think they tend to expect more out of me at times than I'm capable of giving.
But you always do give your best.
That's right, but sometimes it doesn't look that way, you know. Joe DiMaggio, Hank Aaron, guys like that played with a nonchalant approach, a relaxed, unemotional sort of game, unlike a Pete Rose or Gary Matthews or guys that are getting dirty and cheering and diving and doing.
You're sort of like the Gary Cooper of baseball.
Well, that's not all bad. At least it's not the Gary Carter of baseball.
But when you're out there, the reality from what I read is you had a couple of injuries. You're in pain out there, the rib injury you had.
Right.
You said, I can't cough, I can't sneeze.
Well, that's true.
And you're out there playing ball. You missed, what, one game?
I missed, I think, 3 games with that rib injury and pinch hit in each of those games. Seemed like every game I didn't play, Richard, I had a hit with the winning run on second base in the end of the game. But I did miss 3 games with that, with the rib, and I'm fortunate that's all I missed. That could have been a disabled list situation, and, you know, if you miss 15 games, you're not going to be MVP, as Gary Carter proved this year.
But this is one thing the fans don't know. Are you in pain when you're out there on the field playing?
Occasionally, but you play with it. It's no big deal. If it's a pain you can't perform with, you don't play. But, you know, the little nagging injuries that go along with baseball, the baseball players have are no big deal.
That's just what Gary Cooper would have said.
Are you ever in pain when you're on this show? When you're hosting this show, you got to go, right? And the show must go on.
Sometimes they know about it at home, too. One of the things that happens when you're in the public light like you are is that people come up and ask you for autographs. They want pictures taken. The guy at the newsstand, Charlie, out there, when I came in this morning, he said, can you get Mike to sign this for my son, Chad?
I would be more than happy to sign this for his son, Chad.
All right. I've seen 2 baseball games, never seen a football game, never seen a basketball game. I did see 1 hockey game. Somebody took me to see, I think, what is it, the Penguins in Philadelphia? I saw that once. And I have seen a bunch of boxing matches. And in fact, I met and talked with Muhammad Ali twice in my life. Oh, both very interesting stories, but we'll have to save those for another day. Thank you so much for joining me on Richard Bey Talk. I hope you subscribe. I hope you share this with others. I hope that the baseball interviews didn't bore you. And as always, all my best.